Have you ever wondered why poetry exists? Have you ever thought about how poetry started in the world? And have you considered what the first ever poem recorded in history? This video will answer those questions. It will also introduce you to poetry and this entire mini-series will also discuss the different elements of poetry so you can write your own poem. So let me begin with a very brief history of the origin of poetry, looking into the earliest recorded poetry. In antiquity, dating around 2000 to 1000 BC, writings were written in cuneiform on clay tablets. Centuries passed, and in 1853, an Assyriologist by the name of Hormozd discovered the writings in an ancient library of Ashur-banipal. That writing is called the Epic of Gilgamesh, which tells the epic tale of Sumerian Gilgamesh and his adventures. It is believed that such poetry was developed because of storytellers who were kind of historians during antiquity. And they recorded oral poetry, and the poetic way the writings were written, it helps in making the text memorable. And because of it, storytellers can easily memorize them, and in turn, they can also be easily passed on to other people because it sticks in the mind. And the Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest poems recorded and discovered. From 1200 BC to year 455, ancient Greeks and Romans also have a number of epic poets, such as Homer, who wrote the Iliad and Odyssey. And poetry is one way to tell stories that are memorable and can be easily passed on from generation to generation. So it started with oral stories, then it's passed on orally like jokes we tell with our friends, or the music we sing around a bonfire, or the gossips people pass on to each other, until the written recording of such epic poetry happened. And some of them are still preserved in the present, such as the three previous epic poems mentioned, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Iliad, and the Odyssey. And as was said in the first video of this series, stories will exist as long as humans exist. Now, what is poetry? Poetry is a piece of writing in which the words are chosen for their beauty and sound, and they are carefully arranged, often in short lines. So it is a type of literature that conveys a thought and describes a scene or tells a story in a concentrated lyrical arrangement of words. Poems can be structured with rhyming lines, meter, and other elements. But some poems can also be a free form which follows no formal structure. So here's an example of a poem by Robert Frost.
Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Gives its harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep.
Those woods,
But I have promises
I think
to
I know. This house is in the village, though.
keep, and miles to
You
go
will see me
before I
stopping
sleep.
here to watch its woods fill up with snow.
And miles
My
to
little
go
horse
before I sleep.
must think it queer to stop without a
And
farmhouse
miles
near.
to go before I
Between
sleep.
the woods and frozen lake,
And miles
the
to
darkest
go
evening
before
of the
I
year.
sleep.
So that's it. So and then I will show you some of the elements of poetry using this poem as an example. The first element is line. Here is the line. Whose woods these are, I think I know. And several lines creates the second element, which is called the stanza. In this poem, how many stanzas are there? There are four stanzas, and in each stanzas there are four lines. Aside from line and stanza, there are other elements of poetry, and I will show them to you in detail in the next video.